In the next session, I'm thrilled to welcome Steve Nouri, founder of AI for Diversity, Chief AI Evangelist at Wand, and co-founder of Hackmakers DAO. He is Australia's ICT Professional of the Year and a global AI influencer with more than 1 million followers. I bet you know him well. Steve Nouri is a data science leader who has evolved the way people look at AI and innovations. He is regularly recognized as one of the top 10 global experts in the fields of artificial intelligence and data science. Also, he is a member and contributor of the Forbes Technology Council, International Standard Organization, Harvard Business Review, and several other organizations. Today, Steve will share an interesting topic, AI and Web 3.0. Welcome, Steve Nouri. Mike is all yours.
Thanks for extremely generous and kind introduction. And thank you very much for having me. This is the virtual event. I hope that the next time we would meet in person and in a physical event. I love both AI and Web3 as technology and enable. And in this talk, I'll try to cover as much as overlap as possible between two awesome technologies that are trending and will probably will change the future of our lives for good. For the context, and it is often for life, technology, and theology, it is important to know where we are coming from to understand where we are going to. So I want to begin by turning into one of my favorite historians, Yuval Harari, who I expect you all heard of as an author of the book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. He asked an interesting question, which is why we run this world. Why not dogs or koalas, since I'm from Australia? And yet we look around and humans are in charge. He believes that we figured out how to cooperate flexibly at a scale. There are animals like wolves and dolphins that figured out how to cooperate flexibly, and others like bees and ants, they cooperate at scale. Yet we are the only ones who combined both of them that made our superpower and helped us to run this world. Most of the successful activities that we do are dependent on this, like running this event, right? So it seems that we have found a way to define a common set of facts and then cooperate based on that. As hunters, gatherers, we lived in families, in groups, and it was easy for us to come up for a core mission and define something that we all wanted to cooperate on. As we grew and became more complex, there will be many more complex challenges. And we came up with the notion of trusted sources of authorities to maintain the consensus in our societies. And these trusted sources of authorities came with different type and shapes, like banks, organizations, governments, and historically we had like religious related institutions governing our societies. Fast forward to the current, I guess, modern world, we have decided to centralize and aggregate as much as possible to save energy, money, and optimize our systems. And internet helped us a lot to make everyone connected. Social media helped us to know about each other faster, easier, at scale. I love social media. I share a lot daily on LinkedIn, and hopefully you have seen my post. But you know, with all the advances, all the any other technologies, there has been some side effects to these over centralizations. Shopping malls replaced little shops in the neighborhood, many little companies lost the battle to conglomerates. We had to come up with anti-monopoly legislation to maintain some of these, sort of competition left into the world, if there is anything left. And it brought the centralizations to the centralization of power, resources, and made many billionaire that you probably can check the Forbes top 100 billionaire list, and they're growing their assets daily, exponentially. Google, Amazon, Facebook seem to be unstoppable. They go against any governments, like what probably Google did in Australia and won the battle. They can go even against the human rights, as recently Meta restricted access of Iranians who are protesting against the tyrannical regime in Iran. Based on many of these researchers, social media is pushing our next generation to be more shallow, anxious, depressed, and less happy. So these are like some very interesting facts. And I can talk about these negative impacts of the over centralization forever. But I would like to actually take the time and take a look at the evolution of the internet or web. We started with Web 1 when you wanted to connect to the internet, there would be a weird noise coming out of your modem, and it was more read-only sort of pages, HTML pages, static as we call it, that you can browse through. And then the current, I guess, most dominant sort of technology that we are using is a Web 2, like social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and many other like social media platforms are kind of leveraging your data to, they're monetizing your data, and they seem to be free. They're connecting people to each other. The data is generated by you, and it is said if it is free, then you are probably the product. The third generation of the web, which is kind of characterized and driven by blockchain, community, and a paradigm shift, is called Web3. And this is the interesting part that I'm really excited about. It is going to decentralize the web, and I would like to actually talk about an interesting, somehow confusing terminology coined by Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, which is Web 5. For me, it seems to be the same as Web 3, but essentially Jack Dorsey's proposal is literally a combination of Web 2 and Web 3 features, and it acts as an extra decentralized web equivalent. In the essence, there are three main pillars for the Web3: decentralized identifiers, verifiable credentials, and decentralized web nodes, which, as I said, frankly, it seems to be the Web3 itself and the modern blockchain technologies that we are kind of using these days. But the most important thing, I guess, is the trends and how the communities are reacting to these technologies. If you look at the trends, you would see that we're expecting for the Web3 economy to grow to around $23 billion by 2028. And in 2021, it was only $3 billion. So it's just a humongous growth. And by 2030, we are expecting $81 billion. And this is based on multiple sources of researchers. They all kind of have the same ballpark. So we are very early right now. Like, when you hear about it in a lot of conferences and meetups that just say that you are early, that is true. It doesn't mean that you need to jump in and buy any sort of assets. It means that you need to think about and act rationally, but there are huge opportunities here. Web3, encompasses many technologies and applications. You probably can see some of them here. The metaverse, which is doesn't mean meta. It is pretty much what we believe would be many of these metaverses and pods that we will be connected to each other somehow in the future. DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, are another interesting one. NFTs, which made a lot of news in the last year. And just for the clarity, by NFT, I don't mean the monkey faces or any animal faces. It's much more deeper and interesting than that. And probably in the next year, there would be some great projects coming up with the NFTs as a use case. Having said that, AI is going to be the enabler and probably is going to generate the most value in these applications and technologies. But AI is powered by data. You cannot train a machine learning model if you don't have enough data available. And blockchain transactions allow users to control their own data through private and public keys, and it allows them to own it. And third parties are not allowed to misuse or get the data if the person is not, if the owner is not allowing them. So it is bringing the ownership to the actual individuals. And in this image, you will see a pod, which is like where the data is stored in the web. It's solid. Users can have like multiple pods or like one pod storing all of their data, and application can read and write in the pod. But this is great in terms of privacy. This will help to give the ownership back. But the problem is probably we are all thinking, okay, decentralized, give the ownership back to the user. So we'll end up with less data. So what should we do? Like with less data? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. There has been many advances in using the small data. Many small business owners can leverage AI right now to deliver value to their businesses. Many applications were not possible because of the scarcity of data. And I'm very excited that like these algorithms can either generate the data or help to learn from few data points. Like GANs can help generating data that is pretty much very similar or non-distinguishable from the original samples. One few-shot learning, as it is obvious by the name, it will allow the algorithms to learn by a few samples of data, and GPT-3 made a very good, example of that, and the others are the same. So the algorithms are helping us to kind of tackle this barrier. The other, important and interesting advances that we need to be aware of. Google came up with this federated learning, which is like a collaborative machine learning without centralized training data. Essentially, the data will be trained on each node, and then the aggregation will happen in the server. Still, in this system, although the data is owned by the user in different nodes, let's say your phone, and the original, the original learning will happen, the training will happen in the client side. Still, the aggregation will happen in the server, and it might not be the best future, as we hope to keep the data with the user. So probably there will be a version of this which you have these algorithms, maybe many of these algorithms owned by the user, and the algorithms will work with each other like AI agents, and they will connect and help each other to deliver some sort of result. There are many different fronts that this AI can be used in Web3. If you think about the Web3 architecture, probably one way that you can cut it is just the Web3 is based on three different sections: the front end, the provider, and the blockchain. You can think about the front end, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, the provider like the MetaMask, Alchemy, and the blockchain like smart contracts and so on. And also, if you divide these AI algorithms based on two different types, you probably can find these 6 scenarios that the AI will be using Web3, thanks to Xiao that came up with this chart. The first scenario, I guess, first scenario is pretty obvious. AI would run in the front end. It will be low cost. It's very safe. It's very fast, like using some sort of TensorFlow JS. The scenario number 3, which AI would run in blockchain, I'm not sure about it. It will be very costly, very risky in terms of privacy, and there aren't a lot of good applications of that available. The customize, it's more of like you need to use the users on the identifiers to run the algorithm. It's more of like a YouTube kind of things that recommend their algorithms, and the general purpose ones are like the spam detection. So you don't need the identifier of the user in order to generate any sort of recommendation or any prediction. If you think about the scenario 4 and 6, you will see that probably for general purpose, both are fine. Like both of them are going to have a minimum cost. They're going to be safe, and also they're going to be fast in terms of the in terms of running the algorithms. So this is like probably one of the ways that we can we can cut and sort of divide the ways that AI can be used in the Web3 application. The scenario 2 and 5 are sort of the Web2 itself, right? So essentially, it's the same thing. Like the provider would own everything. It would run the algorithm, and it's less of the Web3 characteristics. Going to the next slide. This is, I guess, one of the use cases of, one of the applications of AI in Metaverse. The Omniverse engine is made by NVIDIA, which, the GTC 22 just ended, and they talked about these algorithms, and many interesting insights and new projects came up out of this project. Omniverse itself is a 3D model, can generate 3D models, can also can help, sort of build the 3D workflows, and it is the response of NVIDIA to Meta for building the future of the metaverse. So the Omniverse kit has the physics simulation. It can generate a really interesting um, uh, sort of the applications, but also it is driven by AI. So you can see here, like one of the interesting use cases is to generate a cloud native AI powered avatars that would work within the metaverse generated, omniverse generated metaverse. And the AI powered avatar uses multiple AI technologies at the same time to deliver this functionality. It uses the animation AI, that audio to face, the conversational AI, the vision AI, and also recommendation AI. All of them are bound together to make this avatar work in the generated metaverse, and it is available actually with no code design tool that anybody can stitch and put it together and leverage it for their maybe businesses within the metaverse in future. So by saying this, I'm hoping that the metaverse will become a place for us to get closer to each other, feel much more, having more real connection with each other, but at the same time, we would skip the negativity of the social media where we are bombarded with information, and sometimes these will put too much pressure on people. With this, I would end my presentation. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to answer any questions.
Awesome. That was really awesome, Steve. And I'm so excited to read all those questions by participant. I was able to have some sneak preview, but this time around we have about 13 minutes left, and I would like to first ask the questions. I just want to start off by breaking the topic down into examples so that our audience can understand. Could you please give us some example of application of Web 3.0? Last time I had a chance to listen to your audio event on LinkedIn, in which you shared your experience on this topic, but I still hope you can share it again with our audience today.
Yeah, for sure. I think I mentioned a couple of them in one of my slides, like I guess a couple of the application of Web 3.0. You can see here the metaverse, the DAO, the DeFi, and NFTs. They are all talking about how can we leverage the blockchain technology, give back the data and ownership to the user, and sort of having most of them are trying to have a more decentralized, smaller group of people served by by being very having a very defined mission.
Thank you, Steve. Many of the issues addressed by AI in Web 2.0, such as filtering censored content and matching query result, also arise in Web 3. However, the existing centralized approach are considered to be the antithesis of the promise of Web 3. The current high degree of centralization is driven by expensive talent, rapidly evolving technology, and large data and infrastructure requirements. The question remains, can this be overcome in the centralized system?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I hope that we can overcome many of these challenges. As I said, like AI can be leveraged in many ways in the Web3. So by itself, the application of AI in Web3 doesn't mean that it will overcome any of the challenges of the Web 2. It depends how it being leveraged. It depends on many things. The future, I guess, of the Web 3, generally speaking, is based on empowerment of the users. And we as the user will determine how our data is being used. But you always need to sacrifice something to get something. That's the interesting part of this.
I totally agree, Steve. Steve, I would like to get the remaining 10 minutes to read all those questions coming from the participant. One question coming from Hazel Joy Ilagan. Decentralized blockchain technology is being utilized as the foundation for decentralized finance. A new use case for Web 3.0 is it allow us to provision the financial services beyond the constraint of conventional centralized banking infrastructure.
So, as you know, these DeFi applications are there to help us to be less dependent on the central authorities. At the end of the day, you do need some sort of authorities to take care of the disputes, because this is like a society. That's why I started with the history of society, because this is going to be like any other society. There would be bad actors. They would leverage this technology, and as you probably all have heard about the some of the negativities that are around the sort of the cryptocurrencies or the NFTs, just because it has been sort of you know um, people have been manipulated. There has been some rug pulls in some sort of NFT projects, and we don't want this to happen in future. So we do need some authorities. But does it mean that we need to still be 100% reliant on banks? Hopefully, that's not the case. There are lots of different DeFi projects that are trying to sort of shorten the process and have less of the intermediaries in between.
Awesome. Steve, another question here coming from John Carlos Mislang. Some experts believe that decentralized will lead to difficulties in monitoring and regulating Web3. As a result, there is a visible rise in cybercrimes. What can you suggest about difficulty in regulation?
I think that's a kind of a continue of the previous question, which, like I mentioned, like there would be authorities in future. The regulations are always behind the technology. That's the reality, right? So, as much as we would love to be the, I guess, early adopters, there's always a risk for being an early adopter, and we have seen many of these projects that went wrong, and people lost their monies. But that doesn't mean that it will stay like this in future. Many things has been regulated. Let's say alcohol has been regulated, gambling has been regulated. Many things has been regulated in the past. This is another one. We will understand how to regulate things and how to defend customers' rights and the users' rights. It will take a little bit of time. Just be cautious, do your own research, and make sure that you stay safe.
Thank you for that, Steve. We have 5 minutes left, and I know you are a very influential content creator, especially in AI space. I have this one question from Shara Alarcon. Web 3.0 will make it easier for users to publish content online without central control. Will it affect the quality of information available on the internet?
Um, so we don't want to stop people from sharing the information, right? So the quality control is it will be us using the information based on maybe the authors, maybe the history of the person, the experience, the recommendation from others. But you always want to have this open space that people can um, express themselves, and the quality is also a little bit subjective, right? That's also in many cases, you would like also the ones that are not deemed to be higher quality, to be available, because different ideas will be shared from different perspective. Not necessarily someone with a PhD will have better ideas in every front, and that's I guess the future of humanity. What is the negative of over centralization is just some people's voice would be heard very, very loudly, and the rest will be sort of, will have difficulties to get to reach to anyone. Like, imagine right now in Twitter, if you join today, your tweets will not be seen by anyone. Literally, it would not be seen by anyone, and you need to grind for years and years to be able to get your message to the audience. And versus that, if you have been there in the early days, and you generally accumulated some audience, not necessarily coming from your expertise. You would have more ways to access these followers, which in some cases. I think that's Professor Jordan Peterson talking about it. In the next couple of years, there would be a genuine problem for the average man to be seen, to be heard, and to get the attention. And many of them will have problem finding a mate. So think about these are also the negative aspect of just selecting the best and only give them the space to speak.
Right. Um, l- we have like 3 minutes. From Ms. Evangelista, why Web 3.0 is the next big thing in AI, and how it will influence metaverse, AIML, and the overall business landscape.
So it is believed, which I agree with it, that naturally Web 2 was not the best approach for the humanity. It is the over centralization, the power accumulated in some institutions by owning all the data. So data is going to be back to the user. That's why it's going to be natural. It's going to be more, I guess, helpful for democratizing the data and the power. So it believed that it will become the next big thing, and probably the future of the internet, just because of all these reasons. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the most efficient way to leverage the resources, because always, as you think about it, the centralization would make things cheaper, faster. So we need to just find a balance between the reality and what we think it's the best for humanity, which collectively will think about it. And essentially, AI is enabler for any technology, any business. It will help with prediction, with detection. It will help to automate some of the tasks, and no matter Web 2, Web 3, Web 1, AI will be able to make our lives and our business more efficient.
For sure, that's for sure. We don't have much time now. Do you can you select among those participant question who do you think asked the most relevant question?
I need a second here.
Just click on the participant questions, and you have those pre-selected questions there. You just want to
Course.
select one question. You seems to have having a lot of difficulty choosing the best question, huh?
Yeah, there are great questions here, and I really want to make sure that it is the best. But I'm sorry if it is not going to be, the definitive best, because I don't believe in it. Such a thing. All the questions are great. Whenever you don't know anything, definitely ask, and that's the best thing to do. I will just pick one of them that makes sense and it's interesting to me here. Right. So here we go. So actually clicking in the question is
Our winner.
yep, it's it is the question by Charles Daniel. Um, Everyone catch up with the continuously emerging AI trends in different industries.
Congratulations, Charles. Last word from you, Steve.
Yeah, it was great to talk about these cross section of these two technology. It is the early days for Web3, and definitely there will be much more interesting, I guess, conversations coming up. I'm going to talk about the usage of AI in metaverse in Dubai GITEX. So looking forward to meet you all there.
Thank you so much, Steve. Bye bye. Thank you, everyone.